Doggies fans, all things Bulldogs. So, will Stephen Crichton come to the Dogs? Who knows? I think it will happen. I'm just going to put some things into perspective and context with Jake Averillo and Stephen Crichton. This isn't a post to to say anything negative about Stephen Crichton or the Bulldogs management or anything like that. What I'm going to do is just clearly put to bed some of the rumours and actually bring some logic to this. And all you've got to do is see how Penrith as a club have operated with their team in the last few years, how great they've been with the players, how Gus is with the Bulldogs at the moment, the fact that Crichton's management are close to the Dogs, that there's it's just simply a situation that Stephen Crichton is going to give his club every opportunity to sign him on close to what he's on, to stay with that club, knowing full well that he's had full permission to negotiate, that they're not really in a position to pay him anything more than what he's currently on. And under their system, a player, their second choice fullback can't be someone who's on the same money as their fullback. And obviously their fullback's going to get an upgrade, and so will the players the next generation that are coming through. So to put it into perspective, this is how it's rolled out. The Dogs have made Crichton an offer. I can guarantee you it's not. Well, I can't guarantee you this, but I don't believe it's $800,000. I believe it's closer to the 7, and I think it'd be 3 to 5 years, maybe less. Maybe it's got incentives, maybe it loads each year, depending on certain things. Who knows? But from what I've seen, Gould rarely does contracts where the payments go up. They generally are based on what they're worth over a period of time, and they work it out from there, from what I've seen. I could be wrong. That's just my understanding. Stephen Crichton is a strong player, and I'm going to compare him with Jake Averillo in the moment so that we could sort of essentially see why one guy is on $615,000 and looked at as someone that the Dogs would pay up to $800,000 for potentially, versus a player who may be fighting for his rugby league life this year. And that's not a good position for that kid to be in, and it sort of sucks in a way. So I'll quickly explain that. But just the first point, Stephen Crichton, like any player who's played for one club as a kid, who has shared in so many great moments, has his family there and all his friends there, and for that to likely to continue after he has to leave that club, it's a no-brainer that they would want to stay. So we shouldn't hold a grudge for him for that. Any player would be the same. Kieran Fuller never wanted to leave Manly, but he left. He left for bigger money for his family and for himself and whatever. And the rest is history. Josh Reynolds had to leave the Bulldogs. Now, if Viliami Kikau was told, and Stephen Crichton's been told as well, communication lines are obviously well and truly open. Look, under our system, we can't pay you $615,000 right now. From 2024, Dylan Edwards is likely to be our fullback for a long time, and we've got young players coming through that are going to develop and to fill that role should there be an injury. And that's just what they've done. That's the history of how they've done things since they've got their world back together under Gus Gould. That's how they've gone about it, and the Dogs will probably have a very similar system in time. Stephen Crichton, however, if with the deal breaker here is that with the 2023 and 24 cap going up, maybe the Panthers can extend him for a year or two. It would be great for their club, their fans who like Stephen Crichton, all the players that he has great relationships with, and for him himself. If he can extend on for another year even on that $615,000 or close to it, obviously that'd be something he'd want to do. Right? Now but the fact that they obviously want to see they've got players they've got to pay more money to. The players coming through, the likes of Taruva and the like. Sonny Luke may need an upgrade soon. Fisher Harris to keep him, Leota to keep him, because they're key positions in that front row. Are their next props just as good as them? We don't know. Mitch Kenny, they may need to pay money extra to keep him. He's not a household name, but to them he may be. Dylan Edwards is going to need an upgrade. Cleary's set for a while. Luai's set for a while. To'o's just extended. And the other centre they've just upgraded. So these are all players they have to keep. Martin on the edge. Now he's probably going to get what Kickow was getting, around the 700 mark. So they're like, we can't keep you on that because we've got to upgrade the next generation outside our key positions. And the players that they let go obviously go to other clubs. And who knows, they've got juniors that they may see as potentially better than the ones they've got. I think Burton was a bit of an outlier. I think he was one they wanted to keep. And we offered him an opportunity early and paid him on potential, and it's all paid off. So that's the way I see things. Stephen Crichton wants to stay at Penrith, and Penrith are just going to check to see if they can keep him. The Dogs have put out an offer. I reckon it'll be in the vicinity of 700, maybe 800. But I think it'll be closer to 700, and that's the end of it. Now, the constant speculation, I'd say that players try and keep themselves out of it. But let's look at Jake Averillo versus Stephen Crichton. One's on 615, the other one's on less than half of that. One comes into a side, and in the same period they've been sort of playing first grade, one player has won as many games as the other player has lost. So Averillo has won as many games as Crichton has lost, and vice versa. Now, if that doesn't tell you about perspective and context when summing things up, I don't know what will. Jake Averillo has been relied upon to provide the X factor to help us get wins in games where he hasn't seen the ball. In games, and people say, oh, he hasn't got involved. Well, how do you get involved after you've just defended, 4 back-to-back sets? And your hooker's dead, and your edges have got no gas left in them. And you're getting the ball off a slow play the ball. It's complete context, guys. And this is where we've got to look at things, in my opinion. So I don't begrudge Crichton for what he gets. But Jake Averillo, finally identified as a fullback by Barrett at the end of 21, decides he's going to turn him into a halfback as a sort of last stretch effort, obviously given his marching orders or to hurry up. Wasted a lot of time. And the fact of the matter is that Averillo, if he was given that opportunity at fullback a lot earlier, we may have seen even more wins last year. I have this belief that if Averillo was given the halfback role for a proper length of time, he would have developed into it quite well. But I do believe that Flanagan's defence was better than what Jake's would have been on that edge. So that's one thing to weigh up there. But Jake at least engages the line and runs the footy and puts dents in the opposition. He's great he's got great hands. Drops the ball in a couple of games where we're under the pump, and all of a sudden he can't catch, apparently. I pull this figure out of my bum, but about 30% of fans don't probably think that Averillo is anything more than an average first grader. But the majority of fans who have been on the journey know that, or believe, like I do, that if he had the same opportunities as a Ryan Papenhuyzen, if he'd had the same opportunities as a Stephen Crichton, he may be sitting in a similar position to those players right now. And his loyalty to the Bulldogs, all these floggings he's copped, all the abuse and criticism online, in teams which haven't been able to make any ground, running the ball and have defended for the majority of the game. I know under Dean Pay we would have constantly win the possession and lose, but you're talking about a team which has been encouraged not to throw the ball around in order not to make mistakes, so they didn't have to defend back-to-back sets ever because they couldn't do it. There was just a negative attitude around the whole system, and a lot of us didn't even see it at the time, but on reflection, that's how it goes. And you know, that's your context right there. That is your context right there. So Jake Averillo finally has a team with an established half. Finally has a team with an established hooker. With great experienced players on the edge. And a team which is a lot more confident. And there's stuff's building, and he's a part of that. He come into the side in round 14 as a fullback, and we won half of those games. So you can't tell me he didn't have an impact, because he did. And to me, he's still got, you know, another 100% improvement in him. And what I mean, I reckon he can double his impact purely by playing, you know, having the pre-season and having a full season there and having backing of the coach. You know, the worst thing that can happen to Jake Averillo right now is to get an injury, because that'll be the end of it. But, you know, I should have some more faith in the Dogs' management. I believe that they have felt that Jake Averillo is the future. I don't think anyone feels he's let the club down in any way whatsoever. And Stephen Crichton's signature to them is about the fact that, you know, it probably makes sense. So Crichton coming to the Dogs, obviously we're his first choice after staying where he is. And that's a normal situation for any footballer to have. So I'm not going to begrudge him that, nor should anyone else. And for Jake Averillo, he's been loyal to this club and he deserves the opportunity to shine in that position. And if Crichton comes to our club and Averillo proves himself as the best fullback in our club next year, and we do well and we make the finals, I'm telling you now, he will be the incumbent. I'll make that call right now. Crichton may come on 700 or 800 grand and he'll play centre. That's what I think will happen. Because no club, you know, Pappenhausen was the fourth choice fullback in that club. They would have had players on money that they expected to play in that position. They would have changed everything in their mind based on the way that he played, with a great spine and a great forward pack around him when he came into first grade. And I believe Jake Averillo, with a good side around him, will prove to Bulldogs fans, to himself, and to the management that he's the guy. And I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. So let's get behind Jake Averillo. If Crichton comes, support him, love him like everyone else, and don't be too concerned with what we pay. But the problem is, obviously, and what we're scared of, is that Crichton comes, we don't improve, and we waste our money and waste our time on another unproven player who didn't make it with the Bulldogs. And that's not what we want. But as I said, links to Lenu come to the club, Serrato here, Gus here, have all had a lot to do with his development. And Matt Burton, the fact that he played with him, it's not a big step out of his comfort zone, or as much of a step out of his comfort zone. And that's only a good thing for him, and that's a good thing. That'd be a good thing for us as well. But I'm hoping that the Dogs show some real loyalty to Jake Averillo, and you know, Dogs fans aren't arguing whether he's any good halfway through next season. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on things. Thanks for everyone who's tuned in. Hopefully you listen to this, because I think there's a lot of sense in it. And but if not, thanks for stopping by. Take care, guys, and speak soon.